10 tips that we need to know. And tip number one is start before you're ready. Rad, you talked about the importance of starting now, and you said you wish you gave YouTube attention early on. What do you wish, everyone watching this would know when it comes to starting before you're ready?
The incredible opportunity that YouTube is, and social media in general. But for us, I mean, we're on all the major platforms. We're on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. But YouTube is by far the biggest generator of leads and business for our business by a country mile. We've got more subscribers on YouTube. We just ticked over 55,000 subscribers. So that's more than all of our other channels. And when we've interviewed our best clients, people that have been with us for the longest, they all found us on YouTube, all of them. And because YouTube is evergreen content, like our best performing videos kind of make me almost cringe now, because we filmed them like 6 or 7 years ago and they've had hundreds of thousands of views. Our best performing videos creeping up towards 1 million views. And I just didn't understand the opportunity that we had and that everybody has with YouTube. I really didn't. I saw it as like a hint, like something that got in the way of what we had to do. And it was always like, oh, okay, we got to film some content. And I'd run out once a week for an hour and just try to rush some content out. And so if I knew what I know now my entire job, like my priority with my business, is to create the best content possible. And I wish I knew back then now how valuable that would be for our business. I really do.
That's powerful. And Loida, I'm curious from you, one of the things when it comes to like start before you're ready is, I know for me personally, there's a lot of mindsets just that we roll in our mind, overthinking, sometimes thinking about what are people going to think and all this stuff. Did you experience any resistance when you thought about originally putting yourself out there on camera? Or what was some of the stuff when it comes to you wanting to start, but maybe some resistance you faced?
Yeah, I felt that I probably needed more experience or better equipment, or back then I wasn't a public speaker. I never have felt comfortable in front of a camera or talking to people. Even growing up, when I was in high school and in college, I was the type of student that if the teacher wanted a volunteer or asked a question, I would be putting my head down, making sure that we didn't have any eye contact, because I was just that type of person. So there were a lot of things holding me back, but at the end of the day, I almost made it a challenge for myself to just start recording. And what's funny is that I was really bad in the beginning. You can go back to my videos 2015. I'm like talking really fast, running out of breath. And I remember people leaving me comments, calling those things out. And it would bug me because I'm over here trying to create content and people are seeing the flaws in me. But that didn't stop me. I knew that, there was a bigger goal in mind. I wanted to create a brand for myself, awareness. I'm in an industry where there's hundreds of thousands of agents. So I knew that video was going to help me separate myself from everyone else. So it was just staying focused on that and knowing that over time I was going to get better. I was not perfect from the start. And that's just pretty much the route that I took. And I knew that I had to be consistent and just, forget how I feel or what I think people might think of me. I just need to do this.
So powerful. And Rad, you hit on something where a lot of us can feel like we have a fear of not being an expert. And you actually kind of mentioned like you don't really have to be an expert. People can learn from you where you are right now. Break that down a little bit.
100%. In the fitness industry, I think one of the biggest fears that I had was I've always had coaches and I always search for a new coach. And so I'm always working with somebody that's better than me. And the people that work with me are obviously working with me because I'm better than them and I have something to offer them. And it took me a really long time to get over that, because I was always comparing myself to people that I was learning from and thinking, well, I'm not nearly as good as they are, but always benchmarking that off fitness and calisthenics and the things that I was doing. And I thought, well, how can I really be somebody that's trying to help other people when there's people out there that are so much better than me? But the truth is, something I've learned over my decades of being a coach now is that, in my opinion, the best coaches are the people that are just a little bit ahead of where you are in your journey now. I've worked with coaches that are way ahead of me, that are like 20 years beyond me, and they're less connected to where you are in your journey now. And so there's always going to be people who see you as somebody more valuable than the guru. There really is. And that's something that since I've, punched that fear in the face and gone with it, it's given me a lot of confidence, and I've seen a lot more growth from it. And we get a lot of really good praise on our channel. I get a lot of comments daily from people saying that they think that this is one of the best fitness channels and we're highly underrated and X, Y, and Z. And so your perception of yourself and where you sit versus other experts is not the reality of what your audience sees you as.
Such a powerful and encouraging point, which brings us to number 2, which is you don't need the best camera. So Loida, you mentioned this, that sometimes you had the fanciest camera, or once you got better stuff with amazing editing, it didn't mean that it would necessarily get better views or more views than not having as fancy of camera. What has been your experience with this?
Yeah, so when I started my channel, I was filming every single video for the first 2 years using my iPhone. And back then it was an iPhone 6. That's all I had. I was starting YouTube. I knew that cameras could get pricey. The one that I was looking at back then, it was like around $700. And I said, you know what? Once I know I'm 100% committed to creating content and I start making some money from AdSense, then I'm going to take that money and invest it and purchase a camera. So what's crazy is that you guys can go to my channel and you can see the older videos that I have, which I filmed with this iPhone. The quality is not even the best. They have hundreds of thousands of views. And more recent videos that I filmed with like a 4K camera, they're not getting as many views. So at the end of the day, it's not really so much the camera or the equipment, is whether or not you're creating content that people are searching for, that they actually want to learn about, whether it's a skill or whatever it is that they're looking for. And that's pretty much what has been my experience.
Yeah, I love that tip. And then Rad, passing it back to you. Number 3 is get clear on who your channel is for. And right before this, it sounds like recently you took that to a whole nother level, especially as a business owner, thinking about like kind of your target audience, target customer. But break this down on why this is one of the things you wish you knew back when you were starting YouTube.
Yeah, so we were making videos for everybody, and when I was talking to the camera, I had no clarity on who it was that I was talking to. And I would say things that we'd stop and we'd refilm it. And I'd think, oh, that's not going to make this person feel included, or that's going to exclude that person. And the truth is that the more laser focused you get, if you're not for, like, if you talk to everyone, you're not for anyone. And so nobody will resonate with what you say and go, wow, this person really gets me and I want to learn more from them. You're just too MOR, you're too middle of the road. And so once we identified who our audience was, and when you look at our YouTube channel, 85% of our viewers are men. And when you look at our customers, the people that are subscribers of our app, the vast majority are men, and the vast majority are actually between the age of 35 and 45. And so once we started to understand that and we learned what people's interests were, it became so much easier to create content, because I wouldn't question, should I make this video or shouldn't I? It just completely removed a whole bunch of ideas of, no, my audience wouldn't want to know that. And it made me far more confident on the big ideas of the videos that I was going to make, because I was like, yeah, that is the kind of thing that this person would want to see. And it's funny because it's actually who I was 10 years ago, who our best audience is,
That's a powerful tip that you mentioned. And if you're watching this in our challenge or in the replay, who were you 5 or 10 years ago? One of the best YouTube channels you can make is just serving the person you were yesterday, which is a pretty good person to serve, because you were that. You can empathize with that. You can put yourself into those shoes, and then you can share the learnings and lessons from where you are now. So that's so powerful. And we've been talking about how clarity is power and how getting really clear on that. Let's head it over to number 4 here. And Rad, we're going to stay on you. Number 4 is research before you press record. And you talked about the importance of planning, thoroughly researching and preparing before you press record. And in just a second, I'm going to ask Loida kind of her process of coming up with content ideas. But for you, why is this such a big deal?
Man, this is huge. In all honesty, this is one of the biggest wins that I've had in recent times. I didn't used to do this. We used to, we'd sit down and we'd go, oh my God, we've got to film some videos today. We don't have any content for next week. What are we going to do? Oh, let's do this. And of course, that just really, it's so hit and miss. It's kind of like throwing mud against a wall and hoping that it will stick. And since I've really committed to VRA and the seven R's, I spend a lot of time researching. And so I have a Google Doc, and I have my research. So I've got my big ideas. I've got a tab for the highest search keywords that are in my niche that I can reflect back to at any time, so that I don't always have to keep searching for what's a high search keyword. I can just go back to that tab and go, oh, that's right, those keywords are pretty highly searched for. And I found that in the earlier stages that I would use that a lot. I would use a lot of, what are people searching for and what do I think I can do well? But the further I go along the journey, the ideas come to you more easily, because when you've got more content out there, you get more engagement from people, you get people asking questions, and you can start using the ASQ strategy, the answer specific questions. And so now the research is one of the biggest things that I do. I'll spend a lot of time researching something, and the biggest win for me lately is really coming up with that big idea, being really, really clear on, okay, what's the big idea of this, getting my title dialed in. And I'm spending a lot more time creating titles now before I press record, and then also coming up with the thumbnail if it's a long form. And doing that makes it so much easier to create content that's good. And I've really only thoroughly committed to that process probably in the last month or so, and I'm seeing incredible growth from that. My videos are getting a lot more engagement. So yeah, it's really cool.
I love that you shared that. And what's also kind of cool about the VRA system is, after you've started with it, and once you get some momentum, and once you get some views and you get some subscribers, you mentioned you can always double down on it, but eventually a momentum kicks in where there's kind of endless content to make, because your community is giving you a feedback loop of what content to make next, and it's kind of inexhaustible. So research is so powerful, but eventually, to your point of ASQ, really you just have your community kind of doing the research for you and vocalizing the themes for you. You just start going, wow, like a lot of people, I wouldn't have thought to make this video, but they're giving me that feedback. So I just want to encourage that you're watching this when you're just starting. It's nice to have tools like Answer the Public and some of the keyword research tools we talk about to get you started, but eventually momentum picks up. And so Loida, I'm curious for you though, even from where you have been, but even where you are today, how are you coming up with different video ideas, and what does you preparing for shooting videos look like?
So it's kind of similar to what Rad was mentioning. Instead of Google Docs, I love to use Trello. So anytime that I have an idea that comes to my mind, I put it on Trello. I have different cards for like a long form and a short form. Just through all of the videos that I have created in the past, looking at the comments, the questions that people are asking, I use those also as possible topics to create content. I do a lot of polls on my community tab on YouTube, on Instagram, because what I have noticed is that sometimes I come up with these great video ideas and I think, these are great titles, and then I go ahead and create a video and it doesn't really get a lot of views. So I want to make sure that I'm creating content that people actually want to watch, that they're searching for, the comments that they leave, the feedback that I get. That's kind of where I get a lot of the ideas of what I come up with. And just kind of similar to what Rad was mentioning, I'm now more intentional first of thinking of the title and the big goal of that video, and then also how I can end it and where I can direct people to either a playlist or another video so that they stay within my channel for a longer period of time.
So strong. And let's take it to number 5. And this was our quick tip of the day, but we'll circle back on it. Number 5 is start your videos with a strong hook. And one of the lessons you learned was starting with the hook instead of a long intro or a short trailer. And so what is it that you've learned about hooks?
Just like you were mentioning right before we got started with all of this, I used to put the short trailer with the music and the everything. And then when I, did the program and then you guys were like, no, you got to get straight to the point. I saw more engagement on my videos. People were sticking longer. Obviously, if they're watching my videos, they probably know who I am, so I don't have to say my name again. And it's just, I don't know, I like it better because I'm just getting straight to the point. If you come to my channel, if you watch my videos, there's no fluff. Like, you're getting straight, like, all of the information that I'm providing you. So having that strong hook, coming up with it before you press record, it's really going to allow you to have a better understanding of how you want to do the video, and again, where you want to direct them at the end, whether it's to another video that could be, you know, attached to that one, or a playlist. And that's something that I learned through the program. I was not doing that before, but once you guys mentioned, you know, at the end, send them to another video that can relate to what you just talked about. I've been doing that, and yeah, I've noticed great results.
Amazing. That kind of taps into our sixth point, which was end your videos with a CTA to another video or playlist. And I am curious, Rad, how you think about creating videos, maybe putting videos in series, or how many videos you shoot at once, and then how you're ending your videos.
So that's been a huge development for me recently from because I went through VRA over a long period of time. I would watch 1 or 2 lessons, and then I would implement for a week or 2 or 3, and then I'd go back and watch more lessons. I didn't just cram it all in, and I found that that was really useful. And one of the things that I've been doing just recently is to create video series. And so rather than to make one long video that might go for 20 minutes, I'll turn that into 3 shorter long form videos. And I've even done that with some shorts, and I've had some success. I recently made a 6 video series on how to do better pull-ups with shorts, and they did really well. And, you know, I was just testing out, you know, putting the 1 of 6, 2 of 6 in with the title. And so that's been a big part of it. And also something else that I've done recently, which is a big change, and it just makes me cringe to think that I used to do this because it makes so much sense. I used to do the, well, thanks for watching. I hope you got value out of that. And if you like and subscribe, and I completely don't do that anymore. So an example would be, I just did a video on, say, on shoulder flexibility, and this was a follow along routine. And I go through the routine, and without giving any hint that the video is over, I say, so we're working on shoulder flexibility here. You've got to make sure that you keep working on hip flexibility. And if you click or tap, and then immediately, you know, my video editors bring up the end frame that has me on the side, pretty much exactly like the one that you guys use. And, you know, a video here and a video here. Sorry, I'm trying to get that right. And then I'll have the video that I'm referring to there, and then best for viewer there. And yeah, so that's an old one. That's really old. It's about 7 years, but any of my newer long form ones, you'd see it at the end. And so that's been really huge. And just with hooks as well, for me, what I found was I actually got rid of the bumper in our videos, because I noticed that every single video where we brought up a bumper, bang, retention went off. Yeah, so this is the video that I was referring to. And as it finishes, I kind of just go, I'm saying, you know, you got to make sure you're doing this, and you got to make sure you're doing that, but you'll see it in a sec when I go and just click or tap the screen there, and there it is. Yeah, I got rid of my bumper completely. So we don't have bumpers in videos anymore. So I have a hook where I tell my video editors that I want them to put like 80% of their editing effort into that first sort of 30 seconds. And then the rest of the video, they don't need to put as much effort in, and no bumper, and we got better retention. So sorry, I know I jumped around a bit there.
Yeah, that's great. And so many powerful tactics. What has been your aha moment so far? If you've been consuming this, number 1 is start before you're ready. Number 2 is you don't need the best camera. Number 3 is get clear on who your channel is for. Number 4 is research before you press record. Number 5 is start your video with a strong hook. Number 6 is end your videos with the CTA to another video or to a video playlist. And then there's been a bunch of juicy nuggets just in the middle. So what's been one of your aha moments? Of course, smash the like and heart button, because people are still jumping on here in our Tube 1K challenge. But we're going to keep it going with our special guest. And number 7 is learn YouTube optimization best practices. And so, Loida, you mentioned a couple of these, whether it was the about section or thumbnails. And so what are some of the things that you've learned, whether in VRA and just on your journey in general, that we can apply to our content?
Yeah, you just mentioned the about section. I feel that that is something that a lot of people neglect, especially when they're starting their YouTube channel, because something that I see a lot is, I go to someone's YouTube channel, I don't know who they are, where they're at, what they do, how can I get a hold of them? So really being specific there on who your content is for. Also in my descriptions, before I would just do like a one line. Now I have learned to be more descriptive in my videos, what the video is about, so that people know exactly, what the content they're going to get and all of that is. With tags, I know that you guys have mentioned, we don't really have to focus a lot on that, but I have learned to use vidIQ. It's a really helpful tool. Little things like that, I feel that have really taken my channel to the next level from when I started, because when I started, I wasn't doing any of this. I wasn't putting videos on playlists. I wasn't naming my playlists in a way that could possibly be searchable. And after I went through the program, I went back and I started to do all of these little tweaks, and I have seen more engagement, more retention, and more subscribers.
I love that. And, one of the things we've been talking about in this challenge is how there's some new updates. And one of the new updates that YouTube has made that we actually have to change as well is the very first line of your about page is now kind of like a tagline that YouTube is putting right on our homepages. So you've got your name, you've got your @handle, and then it tells you your subscribers and the amount of videos. And then it has like this first line, which is a whole new opportunity to, in about 50 characters or less, have again a tagline. And we haven't updated ours on Think Media because we're assuming we have more time in the description. So it says, thanks for checking out Think Media on YouTube, which is fine if that's relational on the about page, but it's actually not updated for best practice right here. So we're going to be changing that. And that's kind of a new piece of information for being here in the challenge, just to think about not just your about page, but that first line of your about page becomes kind of like the one sentence that tries to summarize up what your channel is about, the value the audience is going to get, and who it's for. Rad, is there anything you've been doing in terms of how you optimize title, create playlists, or things you do on your channel that you've been doing lately we can learn from?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually a really new development for me. I've been listening to a bunch of stuff from some content creators and from you guys, and I'm very recently making a shift away from doing titles that are keyword heavy to rather shifting towards more doing titles that relate to what a person would read and that would entice them to click. And it is a relatively new experiment for me, but in early days, it seems to be working better. And it actually even is driving the way that I'm creating my content as well. Like it ties in with that big idea. When I come up with a title that is targeted more at what a person would read and be enticed to click rather than what would come up in the search algorithm, then that influences the big idea, and it absolutely influences the hook. And I've only been doing that for about 2 or 3 weeks, which means that the content that I've been producing has only been starting to get released this last week. And I've had some really, really good results in early days. So that's a big one for me. And my personal experience and my feelings from, watching some of the really big YouTube creators that I look up to, is that is something that is going to produce better results than what I was doing before.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And this is one of the reasons why we update VRA, is that really your content should be keyword informed, because it reveals intent and the topics that your audience wants to learn about. However, you really want to be writing for humans, not for robots, right? When it comes to titles. And in some cases, there's almost 2 different styles of videos. There's still the power of kind of the keyword search based traditional title. And in some cases that might be the best, but in some cases it's not keyword based at all. It doesn't reveal anything. It's going after kind of mystery based. And you have that opportunity, like some of the stuff we've been doing on Think Media, like why going viral can hurt you, or these mistakes can kill 92% of YouTube channels. That's a different approach than like how to write a YouTube title. Both are good, and learning the skill set of both. And you're absolutely right. You're really tapping into more kind of a viral technique when you go with some of those other styles of title.
Yeah, And I've been working with the other style that you're describing for a while now. And so I feel like I'm good enough at that I want to try this other style of title. And you'll see it. I mean, that example at the top there, is an older style. They're game-changing shoulder mobility. Like shoulder mobility exercises is a key word. Like it's very, very heavy. But if you went to my shorts, you'd see some of, this is what I mean. It's probably only the 5 most recent. I haven't even looked at them. Yeah, these are some of those are some of the sort of newer style of titles that I've been using. But it's it's cool. It's pretty exciting, and it gives me new direction with what I'm doing. So I'm happy with that.
I love it. Well, number 8 is one of my favorite tips because I know we're busy. I know that getting it all done in every season of life, whether it's kids, whether it's business, whether it's you go full time on YouTube and then things get more complex and you're building the next stage out. So number 8 is get more done in less time with batch recording. And so Loida, talk about, as a busy agent and investor and content creator, and you run events now, and you've had the evolution of your career, how has batch recording helped you? And describe for us not only what that is, but when it's batch recording day, what'd you do the night before? What do you do that morning? What's your routine? What do you eat for breakfast? And I'm kind of serious. Like walk us through it. Like as you approach a day where you create more than just one video in one batch.
So when I first started my YouTube journey, it was kind of just picking up my phone. I had an idea, let's film it. Obviously now as I have gotten busier, it's gotten to the point that I really have been more intentional about batch recording. And it's something that I wish I did back then. So what that looks like now is that every 2 weeks, I like to sit down and write down a lot of different video ideas that I have and kind of what I want to be shooting in the next week or so. I take a look at the comments, the feedback that I'm getting, and the day for batch recording, that looks like almost 5 hours of just recording. In the morning, I get up the night before, I'm taking a look at exactly what I'm going to be filming the next day. I separate whatever clothes I'm going to wear. I have like 5 or 6 different type of shirts that I can change out of. That way I'm wearing different stuff depending on what I'm doing. What I'm eating for breakfast, I like to eat something healthy. I don't want to be heavy. If I eat something that's too heavy, then I'm going to feel like lethargic and I want to just fall asleep after a couple of videos. And then for the actual day of shooting, I make it very clear with my videographer, these are the videos that we're going to record. We're just going to keep the camera rolling. If I mess up, I'm going to continue. We're not going to stop and restart from the start. And that's kind of how that has been. It has really helped me. It was definitely difficult when I first started just because of how I initially began back in 2015. But over time, I think that as you're a content creator and if you really want to grow this, you have to learn to adapt and be able to do these changes so that you're more efficient and productive with your time.
Such a well put answer, and you've really dialed in the system. And I want to encourage you. One of the things that you'll see is that both Rad and Loida have gone to a place where they got a videographer now that's with them and editors that are helping or people that are there. But batch recording is something that is actually a huge key to even getting to that place. I know for me, what I would do is, I would the night before make sure my batteries were charged and make sure that I had my videos planned out, usually in a Google Doc. And then it would just be scheduled on my calendar to set the camera on a tripod and have a selfie screen. If I didn't have the selfie screen, I'd go back and forth to test to make sure the shot was right. And then 30-minute record limit days. And luckily phones and new cameras don't have that, but there's all different levels. You can make this work with whatever you have. And I would try to shoot 4 videos in one sitting so that I could then release 1 video a week over a month and only film potentially 1 day a month. And I want to remind you to stick with us during the entire 5 sessions of the challenge, because we're going to go into even more productivity tips on session number 5. This is session number 3, but session number 5, we're going to go even deeper. But the next one is create multiple income streams, multiple streams of income. And so Rad, break this down. You have got this great channel. You mentioned there's been an evolution of your business. So maybe there's been different seasons of this. You're definitely monetized. So you kind of have the YouTube side, and you guys have created an app, which is software as a service essentially. And right. And you've got kind of that whole side. So kind of break down this idea of earning money in what would be the creator economy.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing for us is that I'm a personal trainer, right? So we learned how to do content creation, so much of it from VRA. And we started, when we started, we were just hopeless at creating videos. But what happened was at about 2018, 2019, my brother and I, we realized that my brother's my business partner, that we had all our eggs in one basket of our gym. And Yanni said to me, what's going to happen if something happens to our gym? We need another income stream. And I said, well, what would happen to our gym? And he said, I don't know, but what if it did? And I'll never forget it. When he said that to me, I almost went white like a ghost, and this sick feeling in my stomach, because I was a new dad and I'd never even considered that. What happened? And so that was the point that we decided to start creating online programs. And that was a pretty new thing back in 2018, 2019. There were fitness people that were doing it, but it certainly wasn't like what it's like now. And we had some very big success early on. We were fortunate enough that we were able to leverage our YouTube channel. And then when COVID hit in 2020 and the world was forced to shut down, we had all this infrastructure in place that was ready to just be sort of put the foot down on the gas. Like we had our cameras, we had our studio in the gym. We'd already created a space for all of this for a podcast studio. We had the online programs that were ready to be deployed. And so it wasn't like we were doing something new. It was just like, okay, well, we have to close the gym. We're in lockdown. Let's just amplify this. And so we started going live daily and doing live workouts. And we had massive growth during COVID because of that on YouTube and online. And our online business started to really take off. And what happened post-COVID, where we were in North Sydney, the small businesses in North Sydney didn't recover from COVID because the big businesses, they just kept people working from home. And so the foot traffic that small businesses like our gym and like cafes and like retail stores that relied on, so many of them closed down. And so for us, we were able to just say, okay, well, this is more financially viable for us to continue this online business than it is to try to continue the gym. And if we didn't have that, I don't even know where we'd be now, but it wouldn't be in a good place. And that's just one example. And then if you look at, YouTube monetization, through YouTube ads and what you can do with other platforms, I think the idea of diversifying revenue streams and looking at different ways that you can make money that wouldn't be impacted, in our case, when one was dramatically impacted, the other one just took off. It was life-changing for us.
Man, it's such a powerful story. And Loida, I'm curious, when it comes to multiple incomes streams, we're talking about 10 things we wish we knew when we started. And when we asked you ahead of time, you said you would have become an entrepreneur. And as with the entrepreneur thinking, it would have been kind of multiple income stream thinking and creating some type of lead magnet or email list. So that's some rich topics. Break those down of what you wish you would have done differently and what we can do as we're learning from you.
Yeah. So when I first started, I would have never in a million years thought that creating content would have led me to multiple streams of income. So for me, I was just kind of doing it as a hobby, of recording my journey as a real estate agent, putting it out there. If someone learned something valuable, great. If not, it wasn't a big deal to me. And then over time, I started to generate business from my YouTube videos. I started to get clients that were looking to either buy or sell. I started to get agents sending me referrals. And then that's when I started to see, this is really powerful. The fact that I have put myself out there is helping me in my real estate business. Over time, as I was getting questions and comments from agents as well in regards to what I was talking about, I saw that there was also a need for training content for new real estate agents. So that led me to create a new agent bootcamp. Initially, I have no clue as to how to do funnels or anything like that. I have never even been involved or researched at that point. I just told myself, you know what, I need to create something because clearly there's a need for it. I did that in 2020. And to my surprise, I had 60 people sign up the first time, then 100, then it kept on growing. And then I said, you know what, I'm onto something. And then along with that, the affiliates, so many different companies that I was already using for my business were reaching out. I was signing up. So then that was another stream. And then over time, as I have continued to grow, there have been partnerships and sponsorships, five-figure type of sponsorships that if it wasn't for me putting myself out there, I would have never gotten that. And even recently, one of my favorite companies that I use in my business reached out to me about a week and a half ago because they want me to be their spokesperson for their company and create content specifically for them. So, I mean, there's just so many different things that have come about. And that's one of the things that I wish I knew in the beginning. And going back to creating a lead magnet, I didn't have something to, that where people could download or give me their email address. I wasn't collecting any of that. If I was, I know that my email list would be so much larger. So if I did have, an event that I wanted to promote or a training that I wanted to do, I would already have so many more people that I could inform of that. And it wasn't until later on in the years of me creating content that I came up with something. But those are just some of the things that I'm just really grateful that I really stuck to this. And if you're watching this and you're like, well, I don't know where to begin, don't worry. I've been there and I figured it out.
Wow, so encouraging, and so many different opportunities to make money in the creator economy, and they just continue to increase. We really get to almost like choose your own adventure, and kind of design the business that we want to design, learning new skills as we go. And so after number 10, I actually want to ask kind of a bonus question. I'm curious about your video podcast that you've started. We've had a lot of people asking about that, and you have a Spanish channel. So I want to touch on that. And if you do have a question, we do want to land the plane and honor our guest time. But if there's any point of clarity, put 4 question marks before and after your question. But number 10, Rad, and here's how you said it. Number 10 is commit to the process. And you said you really get what you put in. There's so much more to YouTube success than just filming crap and posting it. So commit to learning, growing, and putting in the work. Explain maybe the way you used to think, and then how you think about YouTube now when it comes to committing to the process.
Yeah. So as I said before, the way that I used to think about it, it was always a distraction. It was like an afterthought. It was like something that, like my brother used to say to me, he'd go, Rad, we need some new content. And I'd go, oh God, right, here we go. Okay, let's go and film some content. And we'd go out and film it. And then he'd take care of editing it and publishing and everything. And it was always just such a distraction for me. I just didn't see the value of it. And committing to the process now, it's for me, it's just getting better and better and better. It's this 1% better in every single video. And so my process now is I'm balancing putting out as much content as I can with not putting out crap, and really trying to make sure that it's really valuable. And I'm fortunate that I have a team of 3 video editors who work full time for me, and we have daily meetings. And I've been empowering them lately to give me ideas and say, what do you guys think that we could do better? And they're coming at me with things. They've given me some really, really good ideas. In fact, one of them, my first ever vlog, which is about a 10 or 11 minute video of sort of a day in my life, is getting published this Monday, based on my video editors saying, Rad, you should do some content that's more broader, that isn't so niche to the fitness industry, that maybe people would relate to just because you're a dad and because you work from home and you run a business. And I was quite afraid to do it, but I did it, and I just gave them the footage, and I'm so impressed with what they came back with. I'm really excited to see how it goes. And so committing to the process for me is, it's just never, ever settling. And it's this idea that, understanding that the process is like, I have a goal and I have an end goal, and I have things that I want to achieve, but there's never a point that with the process of video creation where I hit something and I go, now I can sit back. I'm just always moving on to the next thing. And so my process now is, batch filming is huge for me. And what I find is I actually almost have film weeks. Like I'll have a week where I'll do a couple of days where those are the days that I'm filming, and then there'll be enough content for my video editors to be editing for several weeks. And then I'll spend that time just reviewing, tweaking edits that they've done, and really just researching, coming up with better titles, getting really good ideas. And then I'll have a whole bunch of ideas. And when I come to my next filming week, I'll have to choose the ones that I'm going to do, because I've got so many ideas and I'm like, that one's going to be a good one, or that one's not going to be so good. And so, yeah, it's just this ongoing process, and I'm only really starting to see the benefits of it. I'm really starting to hit some milestones with growth and with views and with engagement. And yeah, it's really cool.